I'm thrilled and enthusiastic to announce that we will extend advisors webinars surviving the pandemic and start the second batch of 22 amazing panels and webinars every Wednesday starting August 5th and will extend until the end of 2020, inshallah.
Hello, I'm Ricardo Vargas and I'm very happy to join Dr. Sari on this webinar to talk a little bit more about project management strategy and how you can bridge this gap between what is in our mind and what really happens on the other side.
Hello, everybody. My name is Antonio Nieto Rodriguez, and I'm looking forward to another great discussion hosted by advisors around the challenges in strategy implementation in the new norm. I'm sure it's going to be thought-provoking, great guest, and as usual, great questions. So hope to see you then. Take care of yourselves.
Hi, this is Ibrahim Shira. Please meet me at Advisor's Strategy Implementation Panel for an interesting or better yet most rewarding experience. See you there.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you all. First of all, كل عام وأنتم بخير. We wish you a very happy Fitr. تقبل الله منا ومنكم صالح الأعمال. I'd like to welcome tonight our guest, Rachida. Rachida, can you kindly turn on? Good evening, Rachida.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
How are you? Good?
I'm fine, thank you. What about you?
I'm good. We are all okay. We are happy to host you tonight in our 14th week. Within 14 weeks, we were capable to deliver 17 interesting panels and webinars from international speakers from all over the world. And tonight, Rachida, this session is very special because we have you with us from France, and we are happy this interesting session about Agile project management is the conclusion of a very interesting journey of knowledge to help us all together survive the pandemic challenges. Now, before we start, first of all, of course, I would welcome you as one of our dear and important experts in the Agile world. I believe the presentation you are going to do tonight is fascinating, okay? I personally learned a lot from it, and I'm looking forward for your contribution. I'm gonna speak a couple of things first, then I will hand you over to start. And like always, at the end, I will be taking questions and answers. Now, I would like to give at the end of this journey a big thank you to all of our esteemed speakers and panelists. I also would love to thank our supporters, our participants for being extremely positive, for participating, for attending, for asking some of the most intriguing questions, and prepare yourself, Rachida, because their questions are usually tough questions, okay? And for the huge amount of thank you, and for resharing, and for liking, and for reposting on our social media. For this, I truly thank you. Now, before I start our session, I just made an announcement that just a second. Yes, that we will have, fortunately, we are going to continue the session. The phase one of the session is over, but we are starting phase two. And phase two is composed of, so far, around 2 panels and 20 presentations, 22 activities, but I believe we will offer, inshallah, even more. We're gonna start with 2 panels, panel on August 5 and a panel on August, the next Wednesday, I believe August maybe 12. And we will have a huge, a great speaker group. We will have some of the world authorities in project management, in knowledge management, from all the countries of the world, from various countries. I will take the time to introduce them one by one as we start our campaign about the next batch. But allow me to introduce the next session. The first session in the next batch is going to be a panel, strategy implementation challenges in the new norm panel. Next Wednesday, we're gonna have Ricardo Vargas. Ricardo is one of PMI past chairs. He is also a past chair for infrastructure and project management in UN and a world authority. Also, we'll have Antonio Nieto Rodriguez, our friend, the world champion in project management, Thinkers 50, ex-PMI chair, and co-founder for Strategy Implementation Institute. I will be the moderator, and we'll have our friend from Saudi Arabia, Dr. Brahim Shira from Vision 2030. So having said that, I'm gonna just move ahead and give the floor to Rachida BenFerhat. Welcome, and looking forward to your interesting session tonight.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saadi. Hi, everyone. I am Rachida BenFerhat. I am an Agile consultant. First, I would like to thank advisors for giving me the chance to be here among you. I couldn't decline. I am delighted. So I am, as I said, Rachida BenFerhat. I have more than 15 years in the IT industry in international context. For fields like automotive, defense, healthcare, oil and gas, luxury watches, and construction. Just one word to avoid some network and connection issues. I would like to turn off my my video. So welcome everyone. So today we will talk about how agility can help manage projects during the downturn, and how companies learned from the past to manage this crisis period. So we will start with an introduction, then we will see the Agile fundamentals. After that, we will talk about the team's collaboration and communication during the pandemic. We will also see some potential risk related to the pandemic and their impacts on the period after the pandemic. I would like to start with a poll. So in your opinion, what is the main reason for adopting Agile? So is it about reducing project risk, increasing productivity, reducing project cost, or enhancing ability to manage changing priorities? So you have about 20 seconds to answer to the poll. So let's go. Okay, thank you for your answers. Okay, very interesting answers. 75% of you of the attendances say that or think that enhancing ability to manage changing priorities is the main reason for adopting Agile. Very interesting because it is very close to
Rachida?
yes?
Yes, okay, okay.
Yes. So according to a survey that was done recently at the end of 2019, I mean at the beginning of the pandemic, the survey was done with 40,000 people, like executives, practitioners, and consultants. And these people say that the main reason for adopting Agile is enhancing ability to manage changing priorities. Second is increasing productivity, reducing project risk, reducing project cost. And so these are the main reasons that were chosen. Other reasons were chosen, like improving project visibility and better manage distributed teams. So now let's remember what happened 10 years ago with the subprime crisis that had an economic worldwide impact. So at that time, leaderships and shareholders were concerned by cutting costs, improving cash flow, and managing without credits. So we noticed that two major categories of companies, the ones who failed and the ones who succeeded. The first category took the choice to not react and wait for the storm to pass with conserving cash and keep their employees, even without tasks for them. As results and consequences, they had to lay employees off drastically, close down, or to be taken by a bigger company. Obviously, these companies may fortunately succeed. The second category could recognize that an enterprise in environmental factor, an EEF, has changed and respond and could respond accordingly. So some of them had to lay employees off or fire them. So give me you the example of the company I was working for at that time. It was a software provider. So our clients decided to freeze their investments. So we had to postpone the projects which were in progress. So we adapted to the situation with keeping the same business model and developing new services and consulting. That was very helpful for many of our clients in the way that they didn't have to lay their employees off. So many companies use lessons learned from the past crisis to better manage the crisis that might occur. And this category, I mean the ones who succeeded, adapted to that situation, to the crisis at that time, and adapted. And some of that companies used Agile. So what is Agile about? So the adjective Agile describes something that can change quickly and can easily adapt in an efficient and an efficient and researchful manner. Agile project management enables to responding quickly and effectively to change that occur in the business environment. Also, deliverables are produced in an iterative and incremental way. So just to remind this, iterative and incremental development methods were traced back as early as 1957. So now let's let's be updated about some agile concepts. So in 2001, 17 software developers met at a resort in Utah, USA, to discuss the existing development methods. Together, they published a manifesto for agile software development. The Agile Manifesto, which include 4 values and 12 principles. So, how can Agile help companies, and how? So, Agile suggests to have iterative. Agile is an iterative, incremental, and evolutionary methodology. Agile also allows an efficient and face-to-face communication. Also, it covers very short feedback loop and adaptive cycle. And as a consequence, we get a continuous quality improvement. So let's now have a very quick comparison between agile project management and traditional project management. So what about agile project management? So first we have to have an envisioning. So what is it envisioning? Envisioning is to determine the vision, define a light project scope. Then we go to speculating. What is speculating? Speculating is is the release plan. Is that the release plan is based on a rough estimate. Next, we do exploring. So teams carry out actual work, including ongoing reviews and testing, adjustments made to the plan. Then we do adapting. So focus on adapting to and incorporating change. Closing is after several iterations, each iteration creates one or more deliverable. So although it's not linear for the traditional project management, we can mention these 5 process groups that are obviously mentioned in the PM box. So the initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and finally closing. Now let's have a look on agile and traditional project management life cycle. So regarding to agile, we have here a cycle which is called the iteration. At the end of each iteration, deliverables are produced. The deliverables are subsets of the final product or services to be delivered to the client. The deliverables resulted from the iteration that are inputs of the next iteration. So the deliverables resulted from the iteration are the inputs of the next iteration to improve it till the final results. So regarding to traditional life cycle, the final deliverables are produced in a waterfall manner. So now let's have a look on one of the most used agile methods used in the world. It's called Scrum. So the product owner gets inputs or requirements from the different stakeholders who insert them in the backlog. The PO, or the product owner, prioritizes the features to be developed. With the help of the project manager and the Scrum Master, who guarantee the good implementation of Scrum principles, he prepares the next iteration. And here the right word for Scrum, in Scrum, the iteration equal to sprint. The whole team meets for the planning meeting, and the PO, the product owner, explains what is to be done during the current sprint. And each team member gets the work to do thanks to user stories. Every day at the same time, daily meetings occurred. At the end of the sprint, a review is done with the PO, who accepts or not the work that has been done. He is also in charge of the presenting of the deliverable to the clients. To get lessons learned from the current sprint and improve things related to the team and to the product delivery, a retrospective meeting is held after the review meeting. So here now, as we have revised Scrum projects, we can use Agile to adapt. We will see how project works, and we can use Agile to adapt to the pandemic. So in order to adapt quickly to the pandemic, companies must build an Agile system using Agile methods. So this is possible only if we have the right mindset. So companies need to engage people in changing the system through testing, learning, and adaptation. These companies don't have to copy some other companies. It rarely works. And it keeps people from developing the skills they need for adapting, customizing, and harmonizing all the elements of agility. So let me give you an example that happened during the pandemic. It was in Asia. It was in Philippines. So despite the ongoing COVID-19 concerns, the technology market in the Philippines is forecasting continued growth during 2020, driven by wide digital transformation initiatives adopted at local enterprise levels. Here are some benefits of adopting Agile, and here I would like to present results of a survey that I talked to you about just before. It's about we got the results from 40,000 people. Most of them are executives, practitioners, and consultants. And the benefits of adopting Agile are the first benefit is adaptability to manage change in priorities. Second project visibility. Third one is the alignment between business and IT departments. Fourth one is delivery speed and time to market. And the fifth one is team morale. Other benefits mentioned in the survey are the increased team productivity, project risk reduction, and project cost reduction. Here we have a survey that was done by PMI, and according to them, 75% of highly agile organizations met their goals and business intent. 65% of them, of these companies that was questioned, finished project on time, and 67 of them finished project within budget. So also what is important is to speak about the team collaboration and communication. Here we took some keywords, and we will see how companies did during the pandemic. We took into consideration some aspects like proximity, budget, delays, resources, quality, stakeholders, and planning and forecast. It may remind you some PMBOK knowledge area terminology. So depending on, so now let's talk about proximity. Depending on companies' cultures, before the pandemic, some of their employees were working from home. But when the pandemic arrived and governments decided to close industries and companies, leaders and shareholders took the decision to ask their employees to work from home when that was possible, especially for whom can work using computers and phones. Obviously, people of workshops and laboratories were not concerned. For example, in France, people who have school children had been allowed to take care of their kids and continue school at home, one parent per family. Let me now give you the result of a survey that I have done recently. Let me share with you the results. Here it was about going back to the office. We can notice that almost half of people, the survey concerned about 160 practitioners. And here we can notice that almost half people say that they would like to have part-time working from home. So let's compare this survey with another one that was done recently during the pandemic. It concerned about 8,000 UK employees, and we can notice that half people say that they would like to have 1 or 2 days per week at home, working from home. Now, let's talk about budget. So what about the company's budget? To better manage this crisis period, companies thought to many solutions like hoarding cash, prioritize bills, reducing spendings, lower debt payments, or consider hitting pause on autopay. So let's have a second poll. The question is, has the coronavirus pandemic had a negative impact on your project, like delay or postponement? So, okay, you have about 20 seconds. Okay, thank you very much for your answers. Okay, very interesting, because half of you say that yes, there was some delay, or there were some delay on your project. So I would like to compare these to the result I have got with the survey I shared on internet, and we can say that more than 40% of people that answered said yes, there is some delay. But almost 40% say yes, there were some postponements. Let's talk now about the resources. So employees were faced to material availability and material performance when they had to work with their own material before receiving or not. The companies won. Sometimes, and because of the high traffic jam of the networks, they might face to a low productivity. Employees were also concerned directly in their own families by the COVID-19, so they were not available for some weeks. They also had to prioritize between their work and the families. Employees, with the help of their companies, created, when possible, a good climate for work. I will come with some solutions when we will talk about stakeholders. So we know that every deliverable has a quality that has level and a grade decided for each project with a client. So Agile, thanks to reviews at the end of the sprint, like we saw before, at the end of the iteration of the sprint that has a duration of 2 to 4 weeks, help for getting a continuous improvement. So what about stakeholders? So in order to keep all stakeholders engaged and well involved in the projects, companies proposed and suggested new activities to ensure proximity between stakeholders, like sharing coffee and tea virtual breaks. I have in my mind an example of an international company. It's in the pharmaceutical industry in Switzerland. They allow employees to meet the chairman of the company. They took so every week they took randomly 4 employees. So this is a way to share with the chairman and know each other. I have another example of an international company. It's an ICT company who came back to their employees during the 2 first weeks of the pandemic to ask them how they feel, and ask them to measure their temperature frequently. So now have a look on on the results of a question that I have asked in the survey I have done about the stakeholders' involvement. So we can the results is that more than 35% of people say that some or feel that some are motivated and others are demotivated. And we can see also that almost 30% of people are more involved than before the pandemic. What about planning and forecast? Companies prioritized their projects and some of them had been postponed. So some of stakeholders were involved according to the new priorities that had been chosen, and some of them not. So let's move to another topic. Here it's about the adaptation of the Agile during the pandemic. It's the result of the survey I have done. We can see that people answer that most of people answer that the communication tools have been adapted, and 25% of them say that more meetings have been scheduled. So let's talk about tools for effective stakeholders engagement. So we know that each company has its own culture. So let me here show you the most used Agile project management tools, and some of them I used them in the past or till now, like Trello or Slack or Jira. And here you can notice the most used communication tools that are usually used now. So please, now we have a third poll. It's about the reason of project delays or postponement. So in your opinion, what is the main reason why some of your projects were delayed or postponed due to the downturn? So lack of human resources, financial reason, communication issues, or none of them? So just choose, yes, the most relevant one for you. So you have about 20 seconds, please. Dr. Saadi, I cannot see the result on my screen.
Okay, I don't know why you were able to see the ones before. Nevertheless, I can tell you and you do the discussion, okay?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I will end now. They're still toggling. Okay, so you have, sorry, excuse me, it was still on the past one. This is my mistake. Sorry, everybody. I'm gonna restart the poll and publish it. Can you see it now?
Now I can see the poll number 2.
Now poll number 2.
Yes.
What's the problem? What's the problem?
Yes, I can see the third one now.
Okay,
Yes,
sorry everybody for making this trouble, and please continue, Rachida. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I ended the poll. Thank you very much for your answers. So I can see that we can notice that more than 50% of you say that the delays or the postponement are due to financial reasons, and 30% of you say that it was because of communication reasons. So let's now compare these to the result I have got from the survey I have done recently. So more than 40% of people say that it was due to the lack of human resources, and about 35% say that it's due to financial reasons. So now let's talk about the potential risk and their impacts. So today we can see that the healthcare systems are better equipped to handle the crisis than in previous pandemics. The globalization of trade and labor flows will likely amplify the risk to the global economy, and the countries that will have more efforts to do for getting out from the economic impacts, the negative economic impacts, are the countries who based, unfortunately, their economy on cash. What about human risks? Impacts and issues regarding sociability, human behavior, exhaustion due to too many hours spent working and less breaks, and for example, don't get some fresh air. And about the material, we can give you the example of airplanes which are grounded. That is too costly, and maintain them is also too expensive. So to conclude, I can say that some economy experts think that every 10 years a crisis comes up. I would like to go back to our example of 2009 crisis. We have got lessons learned from that downturn. As we are in such exceptional situation, we should answer to this main question: do we have the means for limiting and reducing the risks on our companies and the employees? So in order to survive, companies should tackle them from different angles. Financial, for example, financial people put more control on cash flow. Think about furlough of employees, and for example, not critical projects should be cancelled or postponed. It's as you answer in regarding the poll. So Agile is a part of the question, not just for managing projects, but also for the mindset of the organizations. So Agile enables an organization to reduce operating costs and drive better outcomes, with the main to focus on business value. For example, greater adaptability, more effective cost control, and for example, more engaged employees. We can say that, to conclude this webinar, is that crisis can be turned into chances to improve project management practices. As a call to action, let's be ready today before tomorrow. So I would like to thank you again for giving me the chance to present this webinar. I look forward to your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rachida. It has been really rich, with lots of interesting information, and I can see dozens of questions. So we're gonna start the questions, but before that, again, for those who were not with us in the beginning, I'd like to reconfirm that we will continue with our advisors webinars, Surviving the Pandemic Challenges. We will start with 2 panels, and it will be followed by 20 presentations with probably a lot more. Very interesting topics. If I want to speak about each one, it will take a lot of time, but I'm happy to say that, for example, we will have APMG International CEO with us. We're going to have Knowledge Management Institute Chairman with us. We're going to have Director for the Governance Forum with us. We're going to have also Director for Engineers in Oil and Gas with us. We're going to have authors for managing benefits, management of portfolio, management of portfolio by Axilos, the other one by APMG. We're going to have international experts in oil and gas, in infrastructure, working on the top projects in the region. We're going to have with us Shipley, who are specialized director of Shipley with us. We're going to have another type of technology, very new, state-of-the-art, like the one we introduced from Canada, VisWorks. We're going to have director for KPI organization. We're going to have much, much more. So stay with us. And I'm also happy to announce next week session, the first panel. Let me just, before we start, just play the announcement video again, and then we will start to take the questions. I'm thrilled and enthusiastic to announce that we will extend Advisors Webinars Surviving the Pandemic and start the second batch of 22 amazing panels and webinars every Wednesday starting August 5th, and will extend until the end of 2020, inshallah.
Hello, I'm Ricardo Vargas, and I'm very happy to join Dr. Sari on this webinar to talk a little bit more about project management, strategy, and how you can bridge this gap between what is in our mind and what really happens on the other side.
Hello, everybody. My name is Antonio Nieto Rodriguez, and I'm looking forward to another great discussion hosted by advisors around the challenges in strategy implementation in the new norm. I'm sure it's going to be thought-provoking, great guest, and as usual, great questions. So hope to see you then. Take care of yourselves.
Hi, this is Ibrahim Shira. Please meet me at Advisor's Strategy Implementation Panel for an interesting, or better yet, most rewarding experience. See you there.
Okay, so let us start with our questions. First of all, thank you, Rachida. I believe you did something different than most of the other speakers because you finished early. While presenting that much knowledge, okay? Especially, I'm known personally and other speakers to take longer time to provide that much information. So are you ready to start the questions?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna start with, okay, one of our participants, Gerald, is asking, what is the difference between Agile, Scrum, and incremental methodologies?
Yes, thank you for the question. So Agile is an approach. It includes a lot of methodologies, and Scrum is one of these methodologies. And incremental, it's the way that we we work with Scrum. It means that, as I explained during the webinar, we have to deliver our services at the end of the iteration. So at the end of the iteration, or the sprint, it's what we call the iteration with Scrum. So at the end of the sprint, we have our deliverable, and when we finish our iteration, we have to add this deliverable to the next iteration as an input, and we work incrementally to the end, till the end, for the final product. So we built our product like a puzzle. So we have a part of the puzzle at the end of the sprint of for example, the first or the second iteration. Then we continue in the second or the third iteration to build our puzzle till the end. Yeah. So this is to answer to your question: Agile, Scrum, and incremental.
Thank you, Rachida. Now I have another interesting question. Munir Jude, one of our nice and participants, he's asking a rather interesting question. If Agile is more productive than traditional way, why the traditional is still in use then?
Yes, this is a very good question. Yeah, we have some fields, like for example, oil and gas, or construction. For example, we cannot use every time Agile. We use Agile, but we have to respect all the phases of construction, or for example, in the oil and gas. So yes, we can mix both. We can have a hybrid method, but in some fields we have to keep our traditional methodology.
And this gets us to the next question by Alexei. I think he's from Russia. Does Agile work in construction? You just spoke about this. Can we use Agile in construction?
Yes, Agile can be used in construction. As I have an example in my mind, because I had a few years ago, I worked on a construction project. It was a digitalization one, and what I noticed with construction, in this construction field, is that people, when they have some unexpected factors, unfortunately they use Agile, even if they have to respect all the phases of the project. But internally in the phase, if some unexpected unexpected facts happen, we have to think about Agile and to adapt to the situation very quickly.
Same or almost same concept or question from Tony Osset, who's asking, how can one apply Agile methodology to construction projects constrained with procurement laws that limit change? I believe you just almost answered this question. And having worked a lot with the construction, oil and gas, capital infrastructure projects, when we have phase gates and we have steering committees and reviews and lots of laws and regulations, as a general life cycle or framework, we cannot just implement Agile. Nevertheless, within each phase, we will utilize a lot of the Agile tools and techniques. Okay? Within each phase, we can utilize these.
Yes.
It is not necessarily to to be working waterfall from A to Z. Yes, we will have to follow the life cycle at the whole level, from conceptual to design, bidding, construction, commissioning, handing over to operation. We have to follow this, and we have phase gates, and we have to stop at each phase gate and get an approval to go to the next phase. These things we follow. Now, inside each phase, it depends on what we are doing. If we will not utilize an agile method as it is, we can utilize a lot of the agile method tools and techniques for ideation, for example, and brainstorming in the very early phases when we are trying to develop the concept. Then we can use Kanban, we can use lots of other techniques when we are implementing. And as Rachida said, when we are facing unattended new grounds, new types of challenges that usually push us to do some research about whether or not this material will work in this location, okay, or in this type of structure or project and whatnot, then we can rely a lot on many of the agile techniques. So I believe combined might work just fine in some cases. What do you think, Rachida, about this?
Yes, I totally agree with you. And if I may add something, I would say there are no two companies that are using agile or traditional project management tools or techniques in the same way. You adapt according to the situation you are facing to.
So you have to be agile in using agile.
Right, yes. You have to adapt to the right situation, yes, right. But yes. I have to say that that you should be disciplined in the application of agile. I can give you an example. If you decide at the beginning that your iteration or your sprint is about 2 weeks, you have to follow this template till the end of the project. You cannot say, okay, this time it's 2 weeks. The next sprint will take 3 weeks, and so on. You know, there is discipline to have from the beginning to the end. But we have some exceptional examples. For example, when you know that your company is closed for the summer for 3 weeks, you have to modify the duration of the sprint and to adapt and to say, okay, this sprint will last, for example, 1 month, but it's exceptional, you know.
I like what you said about being disciplined to succeed in Agile. Those who do not know Agile think Agile is freedom, okay? Actually, Agile is responsibility and accountability. When I first encountered Agile many years ago, it started with the Japanese slogan, Shuhari. What is Shuhari? Shu means follow the rules, and Ha means master or become master of the rules. Now Ri means break the rules. So in this perspective, only after you follow, you learn, then you are very skilled and you master the process, only then you can break in which sense, okay? In the sense of perfecting things, becoming a master, to be the advocate of the client, the advocate of the project, rather than the advocate of the process. So you break the process in order to adapt the process to the specific situation in hand. But you cannot do it if you are not disciplined and not experienced already. This is why people, the more they are disciplined, the more they are experienced, the more they succeed in utilizing the agile methods or techniques. What do you think, Rachida?
Yes, I totally agree with you. We are more efficient if we have some discipline rules. Yeah.
Thank you. So we move to another interesting question from Gurpreet. He's saying Agile advocates small, high-performing teams to deliver results. In a situation where you are leading multiple teams across an organization to deliver a transformational change program, how can you successfully obtain buy-in from senior stakeholders and work collaboratively with multiple teams?
Yes, yes. Thank you for.
I think you can do a PhD on this question.
Yes, yes. Yeah, of course. Here we talk about the life cycle of Agile, and we showed a schema with Scrum just before during the presentation during this webinar. And what I can add is that the teams, we are more efficient if we have small teams. I mean, between 10 to up to 15 people. But if we have a lot of people, a lot of the project is very big and involved many people. We will have a lot of distributed teams, and we will have. We talked about the review, the planning meeting, the review meeting, the retrospective meeting, and here this is for one team, and we can do this for many teams. So we will have the Scrum of the Scrum. We talked about the guy who is the Scrum Master, and we will, in such a big project, we will have the Scrum of the Scrum. So we will have meetings about to coordinate all the work, the work of all teams. We can imagine that we have a pyramid. On the top we have the Scrum of the Scrum, and on the bottom we can on the bottom we have the team developers, for example, or the team members, all team members of the project, of the big project.
But I think it will take. It's not instant. It will take a lot of time to build such a culture, to build not one autonomous team, but to build multiple autonomous teams that actually work together. I think it is not easy at all. Not too many companies succeeded in this. What do you think, Rachida?
Yes, I have the example of pharmaceutical industry in Switzerland, and they work like this. They have such big projects that people work on, and they try to coordinate. They choose a person who is dedicated to coordinate the teams of Switzerland. Then another one for North America, and another person, a third one, who is coordinating Europe and the North America and so on. But what I heard, it was actually for SAP implementation. And it was a very huge project, and it took it took a lot of time to coordinate all people, and especially to give them the right mindsets and what is the aim at the end. Yeah.
Thank you. Interesting. Now, another question from Nabil Talib. He's saying agility is the engine of business innovation. Don't you think that permanent adaptation must be made constantly?
Yes, very good question. Yes, as I said before, when I talked about Scrum and the meetings that we can have at the end of each iteration, I mean at the end of each sprint, we have what we call the retrospective meeting, and during this retrospective meeting, we have to talk about the things that went well. To encourage people and to say, okay, we did well, we worked well, and the second thing is the second part of the retrospective meeting is what went wrong, and here it is to learn from our mistakes during the past two weeks, for example. And after this, we have to put some actions to do and to follow them to improve our methodology or our way to do our manners.
What I love about Agile, Rachida, is that it requires a radical revolution or change for the culture, from pointing fingers to embracing failure as a means of learning. Okay, so probably the organizations who are afraid from admitting they made a mistake in public even and backing off, they will never move on. Okay, this is just a note.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Now I have.
Yeah, I have another.
Yeah, please.
Yes, I have another thing in my mind is about. Yes, we can learn from these retrospective meetings, but not only retrospective meetings, but also with daily stand-up meetings. Because when you meet with your colleagues, with your team members, you say, okay, yesterday, this is what I did yesterday. This is what I will do for the next 24 hours. But I am facing to this problem, you know. So this is important to share with your colleagues. What are you facing to? And maybe you don't have to waste time to look for solutions, but you can get some feedback from your colleagues. And this is, for me, one of the most important things with Agile. And you can share with your colleagues every time, continuously.
Yes. You need to have a trusting team. Trust is very important to succeed in these autonomous teams, I believe. Now, I have a question, a very interesting question. I'm going to ask it to you, but I'm going to ask again, Gurpreet, to ask it not in the next panel, the panel afterwards, because the panel after that, we're going to speak about agility for organizations. So how can local government organizations successfully work on or implement enterprise agility?
Yeah, I can to answer to this question. I think we can take the example of our government here, for example, here in France, to manage the pandemic. So I was one of the person who were waiting for the president or the prime minister. Information. And for me, it's something that was very interesting. It was agile, and they should adapt continuously to the situation.
Interesting. Now, another question from Gerald. He says, we have traditional companies that are so rooted to traditional waterfall approach. How can we proactively change the mindset to agility, given the costs involved and the expected human resistance to change?
Yes, very good question. Very interesting. I can share with you my experience because during for 20 years, the company I was working for used traditional methods, and everything was rude and rigid. And one day the top management, I don't know how, but they were convinced that if we want to move forward and to respond quickly to our clients, we have to do some adaptation and some modification to the way that we manage projects. And at that time, the top management changed and thought at that time that that move to Agile can be good for the company, and this is what they did, and we succeeded all, and they were convinced about agility, you know, about Scrum, and even the top management was very involved in developing and implementing Agile in the company. So they, for example, in the technical department I was working, we had our Scrum meetings, but the top management met with us every week with weekly meetings to let us know what is going on in the company, and what are the new projects, and to give us the numbers, and what was different when we were working with traditional ways or manners. Yeah.
And what was the industry in that company?
The company is a software provider, and we have a lot of clients in automotive, like PSA or Dassault in defense, or and Johnson & Johnson for healthcare.
Thank you. Now, Mu'izz Gharbi is saying, what are the assumptions taken to claim that 70% of projects' benefits are related to adaptability to manage changing priorities?
Can you please repeat the question? I didn't understand the beginning.
Yes. He's saying, what are the assumptions taken to claim that 70% of projects' benefits are related to adaptability to manage changing priorities?
Where
did Mu'izz get the 70% from?
Yeah,
from one of your statistics?
Yes, it was a survey that was done when the pandemic started at the end of the last year, and for me, 70% had answered that adaptability. Then one of the benefits of adopting Agile is adaptability to manage changing priorities. If you well remember, when I explained the Scrum schema, is the product owner is thinking always about the priorities of the feature that we have to answer, to include or to insert in our backlog, and so every time the product owner or the team who is in charge of creating the backlog is thinking about what are the priorities for the next step, and so on. So for me, it's a logic, it's a logic answer, and for me it's normal for have this kind of answer.
Listen, I'll confess to something, because I studied computer and communications engineering in the university many years back. then I moved to the business of infrastructure and construction. And meanwhile, I did technology first, then company, organization development, whatnot, until I landed in project and strategy. And to close the gap between those who support Agile and those who do not support Agile. Those who do not support Agile, many of them are not in the IT industry, because in the IT industry now, it's no two people quarrel about this. The thing or the challenge is how much it can be implemented outside the IT industry. And my answer, or what I have in mind, is that when we talk about adaptation, adaptation is not something new. Portfolio management always had a phase called optimization. Why optimization? Now I'm talking about strategy, about realizing strategy. Optimization, because nobody in the world knows the best optimized group of investments, projects, and programs and operations that will help them realize their strategy from day one. So what do? They do their studies and feasibilities and best guesses and make choices. And then when they land into the implementation and execution and realization, they discover that some of the investments are not worthwhile. And this is optimization. This is adapting. In strategy, we always adapt, okay? Because we don't know the future. We don't know if our decisions were the best decisions. We discover and we adapt and we change. And then when we talk about the Agile mindset, or talk about the concept of agility, I believe this is a global concept. It does not matter what industry you are in. You can always use it, and in many cases, it provides the solution. What is yet to be defined, whether or not we can take an Agile methodology and implement it successfully in other fields like oil and gas, capital infrastructure, construction. As is, maybe this is yet a thing to be challenged in the future. These are my 2 cents. What do you think, Rachida?
Yeah, I think, I agree. For me, when you are facing to uncertainty, you have to adapt quickly. So we don't have uncertainty only in marketing projects or in IT projects. So we can have this in many fields, and as experts are saying that every 10 years, approximately, we have a crisis time, we have a crisis period. So we have to keep in mind that that the uncertainty is just near us, and so we have to keep this in our mind and to think about adaptation.
Interesting. Now from Tariq Ashmar, he's saying, can you please clarify for us about scaled Agile SAFe, and how does that fit with Scrum, Kanban, and Agile?
Yes. So Agile is like as I said before, it's an approach of a lot of methodologies for adaptation, and SAFe, Kanban, and Scrum. Scrum took a lot of concepts about SAFe and Kanban. For example, when you do daily meetings, when you do your daily meetings, usually people or the team members use a Kanban, use a story or a task board, and this task board is came from Kanban. Yeah. So Scrum is a methodology that use a lot of concepts from SAFe or from from Kanban. And I have an example in my mind in one of the companies I was working for. For some projects and with some team developers, we used XP method. It's a peer programming method. So we, for some projects, for some aspects of the project, we had two people that were developing the same thing. Each one helped the other one.
Thank you. Now, interesting question from Salahuddin BenFerhat. Is it true to say agility is expanding from being a project management concern to be business, strategy, and governance concerns?
Can you please repeat the question, please?
Okay. I'm going to ask you this, but again, I will ask Salahuddin BenFerhat to re-ask this question in the, not next panel, the one after. And he's saying, is it true to say agility is expanding from being project management thing to be business, strategy, and governance?
Yeah, for me, agility can be used in all the levels. So it's not part of developing. It's not part of such companies. It's for all the levels.
Now, Wael Sharqawi is saying, how can we adopt agility within a PMO in the fastest way or manner?
Yes, first for me, we at the beginning, when we don't know how to use agility, we have to know all that is possible, and people that have to implement agility or Scrum in the company have to listen carefully to all the environment. And for example, if we take the example of the sprint duration, they need to know, for example, if the project they manage, if they are big project like in oil and gas, we have projects of, for example, 3 years, or we have we would like to develop a software. It can take, for example, 6 months or 1 year or 10 years. It depends on that, and we have to adapt. We have a lot of parameters that we have to take into consideration to implement Agile.
Now, I might help also in answering from a different perspective, because we worked on PMOs a lot. And in one of the largest ones, it took like 4 years in terms of implementing and rolling out, and was very successful. I had one team member with me, and he got one of the Agile certifications. And after that, he started to check our methodology in setting up and running the PMO. And he came back with a report that shows we comply 80% to whatever he learned in Agile. And he even gave a very interesting paper about it. His name is Sameh. Now, after that, we started to adopt these tools and techniques. So we changed our method into what we call the Agile Organizational Development Framework. And we implemented Agile all the way. Now, you can utilize Agile or agility or the Agile mindset to the maximum in setting up a PMO. Now, in the services the PMO will offer, even if it was not for the IT industry. Now, add to it, if it is for the IT industry, then you have to ascribe to one or more of the known methodologies, which Rachida thankfully explained, and make this one of the services the PMO will offer to help teach these or spread or unify the way they use them in their IT or health or education, or I don't know, other projects. And you might have in the PMO more than one method to fit more than one need. Okay. Now, Rachida, another interesting question from my friend Hani Maulawi. He's saying, thanks for the interesting presentation. Do you have an example or know of a reference for using Agile project management in higher education institutions?
Actually, I don't have an example, but I can think about this question, this very interesting question, and I can share with our attendee some answers just after the in few days. Yeah.
Okay. Now, again from Moaz, is there any statistics regarding using Agile versus traditional method? What is the overall gain in terms of cost, schedule, and client satisfaction?
Oh, I don't have statistics. I don't know if this exists, but we can. I can check for this and share with him with our attendee some answers.
Now, our friend and partner, Ahmad Abdesalim from Tunis, he's saying, would you please share your thoughts and lessons learned about hybrid approaches?
I am thinking about an example in oil and gas company. In an oil and gas company, they use hybrid methodology. They use the traditional one and agile. So we know that in oil and gas we have big phases, but in each phase we have sometimes we have to adapt, and agility is used in the phases.
Okay. Before we stop, there are 2 or 3 more very interesting questions. I have to ask these to you before we stop.
Yes.
So Sola is asking, yeah, companies are yet to adopt project management methodologies will certainly have difficulties with Agile. How could that journey toward Agile start? And how do you get senior management buy-in? I believe this is the $1 million question. How do you get senior management buy-in with respect to Agile?
Yeah, it's a question of am I convinced or not? I gave you the example of the company I was working for. The top management was very convinced about adopting Agile, and they know when they compare our company to others that adopted Agile. The choice was very simple. The answer to the question was very simple. So, do I have to adapt or not? For example, I gave you the during the subprime crisis, we kept the same business model, but we developed new services and consulting. And if we didn't do that, maybe this company doesn't exist. Maybe they closed. Maybe 1 or 2 years after. The company still exists, and thanks to the adaptation that they did.
Okay, another question from Junaid, also interesting. Why is Agile stereotyped only as software project management methodology?
Can you please repeat? I haven't understand the beginning.
Why is Agile stereotyped
Okay.
only as a software project management methodology?
Yes, I think yes, it's a question that I often heard. Maybe because of at the early of the 2001, some developers, some American developers, suggested the Agile Manifesto, and maybe we still think about that. But I have a lot of examples of companies that are not in the IT industry, and they use Agile.
Now, from Stella Maris, how can an organization transition from traditional to Agile? What are the phases they should follow?
Yes, when we work with traditional project management, for example, we know that everything is. We know that we have to follow some processes, and we cannot change something very easily, and we have to ask for the change and so on. But if I take the example of a company I was working for, it was very it took many times to establish and to write all the procedures that we use in the company for all the departments. And when we decided to when the top management decided to move to Agile, it was difficult because we had some difficulties because people were saying, why should we move? And in the past few years ago, we wrote a lot of procedures, and we spent a lot of time for to get the ISO 9001 and to be certified and so on. And the first we faced it to something else is that was keeping people motivated and bring them every day to that stand-up meetings, because some people were not very communicative, and they prefer to work alone. And this is the kind of problem or issues we had faced too at the time. And
Rachida, there are several.
Yeah, and the main thing is the mindset. Is the mindset.
Of course, totally agree. Rachida, there are many more questions or several more questions, but we exceeded the normal time we exceed, and it's really been enjoyable. I enjoyed the presentation and even more the questions and the dialogue with you. I thank you very much for staying with us tonight. I thank our dear audience and participants. I look forward to seeing you in the first event of our batch 2, which is week 15 panel on strategy challenges in the new normal with Antonio Nieto Rodriguez, with Ricardo Vargas and Dr. Brahim Shira, and I will be moderating. Until then, thank you for attending. Stay safe. كل عام وانتم بخير. أضحى مبارك وتقبل الله طاعتكم. And have a good night. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Dr. Saadi, for giving me the chance to be here tonight with you all attendees. Thank you for all these questions. And yes, obviously, I will be here for the next webinars, and I will enjoy to see Ricardo Vergas because sometimes he comes here in Switzerland, and unfortunately I haven't had the choice to meet him. Yeah.
You're welcome, Rachida, and you are yet another proof that we know how to select good speakers, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Good night.
Eid Adha Mubarak.
Mubarak, thank you. Bye-bye.